Also breaking right now, I'm just getting this in to my ear and to our newsroom. Don Lemon has been taken into custody.
With a sweeping federal raid being called one of the largest in Philadelphia history. Tonight, dozens have been indicted in an alleged drug ring.
DEA agents, along with various Orange County law enforcement officials, arrested 13 people in Orange County with ties to Mexican cartels.
At 4 a.m. on a Thursday in late January, federal agents breached a luxury compound in Scottsdale, Arizona. Behind 10-foot privacy walls of what appeared to be a vacation rental, they found something that would rewrite the map of cartel operations in America. The master bedroom had no bed. Instead, stacked floor-to-ceiling in vacuum-sealed bricks was $127 million in U.S. currency. This wasn't a safe house. It was a bank vault disguised as a home. But that was just the beginning. Over the next 6 hours, federal agents would execute coordinated raids across 3 states, seize over $1 billion in cash and assets, arrest 89 individuals, and dismantle what investigators are now calling the most sophisticated money storage and distribution network the Sinaloa Cartel has ever built on American soil. This is the story of how that network operated in plain sight for 4 years, how it infiltrated neighborhoods from Arizona to Texas to California, and how one encrypted server, left behind in a panic, revealed the terrifying scale of what was really happening inside those walls. The operation had a name. Federal prosecutors called it Operation Silver Fortress. The Sinaloa Cartel called it something else. In the encrypted communications recovered from the Scottsdale raid, cartel operatives referred to the network as La Red Silenciosa, the silent net. And silence was the strategy. These weren't drug labs. There were no processing facilities, no packaging operations, no street-level dealers. This network had one purpose: to hold the money. Billions of dollars in cash generated from fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine, and heroin sales across the United States needed to be stored, counted, and prepared for transport back across the border. The Sinaloa Cartel had solved that problem by turning suburban real estate into industrial-scale cash warehouses. The investigation began 8 months earlier when Treasury analysts noticed unusual property transactions. Over 2 years, 60 residential properties were purchased in cash by shell companies with no history and no identifiable ownership. No mortgages, no insurance, no utilities. The homes sat dark while lawns were maintained by contract services. Neighbors thought they were investment properties. Federal investigators had a different theory. If you want to hide $1 billion, you put it in a house. The breakthrough came when an informant reported being hired to reinforce floor joists in a Chandler home to hold 10 times normal weight capacity. The client paid cash. Agents cross-referenced the address with Treasury data and found the property was purchased by a Nevada shell company with a mailing address leading to an empty lot. Surveillance began. For 3 weeks, they watched. Every Thursday at 11 p.m., a white van entered the garage, stayed 30 minutes, then left. Agents followed it to properties in Mesa, Tempe, then a South Phoenix warehouse. The network was massive. At 4 a.m., over 600 federal agents from FBI, DEA, ICE, and HSI launched simultaneous strikes on 23 locations across Arizona, California, and Texas. In Scottsdale, $127 million. Tucson Ranch Home, $89 million in a false garage wall. San Diego beachfront property, $143 million in military-grade containers. El Paso house near an elementary school, $76 million in the attic and crawl space. The money was engineered into the structures. In an Ontario, California warehouse, agents found the counting facility. Commercial bill counters lined metal tables, shrink wrap machines, vacuum sealers, logistics software tracking every dollar. 3 shifts daily, armed security, encrypted radios. Upstairs, spreadsheets detailed cash inflows from 14 metropolitan areas: Los Angeles, Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, Denver, Las Vegas, Albuquerque, San Antonio, Tucson, San Diego, Fresno, Sacramento, El Paso, Riverside. Each city had courier networks moving bulk cash to regional collection points, then to the counting facility. From there, cash was sealed, logged, transported to safe houses for storage until smuggled back to Mexico. The ledgers showed that in 12 months, the network processed $2.7 billion in cash. Money arrived in duffel bags, suitcases, boxes, trash bags. Dirty, crumpled, contaminated. Counting teams sorted it, cleaned it, ran it through machines, prepared it for storage. $7 million per day. Physical cash from poison sold on American streets, hidden in American homes, waiting to fund the cartel. But how does an operation this large go undetected for 4 years? The cartel didn't rent houses, they bought them. Legitimate real estate transactions, licensed contractors, property taxes paid on time, HOA complaints answered. Normal homes, some in gated communities with neighborhood watch signs. One Scottsdale property was 2 doors from a retired FBI agent. The cartel perfected blending in. Local property managers handled maintenance. Exteriors stayed pristine, no attention drawn. Guard staff rotated every 2 weeks. The raids exposed another disturbing layer of the operation. In several of the safe houses, agents found more than just money. In a property outside Tucson, investigators discovered 340 pounds of pure fentanyl stored in a climate-controlled room next to the cash. The fentanyl was packaged in vacuum-sealed bricks identical to the cash bricks, designed for easy transport. The street value of that single seizure was over $40 million, but the deadly dose potential was far worse. 340 pounds of fentanyl contains enough lethal doses to kill over 77 million people. It was sitting in a suburban home 3 miles from a high school, guarded by men with AR-15 rifles and instructions to destroy everything if law enforcement ever came through the door. In El Paso, agents found something that shifted the investigation from financial crime to national security threat. Inside a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards of the safe house, forensic teams discovered detailed surveillance photographs of Border Patrol stations, ICE detention facilities, and federal courthouse locations across the Southwest. There were handwritten notes in Spanish detailing shift change times, security weaknesses, and entry points. There were blueprints of government buildings. There were GPS coordinates for remote desert crossing routes. And there was a list of names. Agents, prosecutors, judges, people who had worked cartel cases, people whose addresses, vehicle descriptions, and daily routines had been documented with the kind of precision that suggested this wasn't just intelligence gathering. This was target preparation. The arrests came fast. In the first 12 hours, federal agents took 89 individuals into custody. Most were low-level guards and couriers. They were paid between $2,000 and $5,000 per week to sit in a house, watch the money, and stay silent. Many of them had no criminal records. They were recruited from immigrant communities with promises of easy cash and told that all they were doing was watching property. But several of the arrests were far more significant. The raid in Ontario captured the operation's logistics coordinator, a man named Miguel Ernesto Salazar, a 43-year-old U.S. citizen with dual Mexican nationality, who had been overseeing the cash counting and transportation networks for the past 3 years. In his encrypted phone, agents found direct communication with high-level Sinaloa cartel members operating in Culiacan, Sinaloa. He wasn't just managing money, he was coordinating strategy with cartel leadership in real time. But the most significant arrest happened not in a safe house, but in a parking lot outside a luxury hotel in Scottsdale. At 9:47 a.m., federal agents apprehended a man leaving the hotel lobby with 2 rolling suitcases. His name was David Ochoa, and on paper, he was a successful real estate investor with properties across the Southwest. In reality, he was the architect of the entire safe house network. Ochoa had no cartel tattoos, no criminal history, no connection to street-level drug operations. He was a businessman. He knew tax law, he knew real estate, and he knew how to build a billion-dollar infrastructure without ever touching the drugs. When agents searched his hotel room, they found a laptop containing the master database. Every property, every address, every shell company, every courier route, every cash total. The entire operation mapped out in spreadsheets with the efficiency of a Fortune 500 logistics chain. As forensic accountants began analyzing the seized records, the full scale of the operation became clear. The Safehouse network wasn't just storing cartel money, it was also laundering it. Several of the properties had been used as collateral for legitimate business loans. The cartel was leveraging the real estate to generate clean capital that could be reinvested into legal businesses. They owned car washes, used car dealerships, construction companies, and import-export firms. The cash from the safe houses was being funneled into these businesses through falsified revenue reports, creating a clean money stream that flowed back into the cartel's operational budget. It was a closed-loop system: dirty money in, clean money out, and the infrastructure to keep it running indefinitely. If you're still watching this, you need to understand something. This operation succeeded because it was invisible. No shootouts, no flashy cars, no public violence. Just quiet homes in quiet neighborhoods holding the profits of America's drug epidemic. If you believe this kind of infiltration should be exposed, hit that like button right now so more people see how deep these networks really go. The implications of this case go far beyond the $1 billion seized. Federal prosecutors are calling this the largest single cartel asset seizure in U.S. history, but it also represents something more troubling. For 4 years, the Sinaloa cartel operated a parallel financial system on American soil. They bought property, they paid taxes, they followed HOA rules, they waved at neighbors, and all the while they were storing the profits from poison that killed over 100,000 Americans last year. The fentanyl crisis is not just a border problem, it's an infrastructure problem. The cartels have built logistics networks inside the United States that rival legitimate corporations in their efficiency and scale. The raids also exposed a critical vulnerability in the American real estate system. Shell companies can purchase property with cash and remain anonymous in most states. There is no federal requirement to disclose the true owner of a residential property if it's held under an LLC or trust. The Sinaloa cartel exploited that loophole to build an empire of cash vaults hidden in plain sight. Federal lawmakers are now being pressed to close that gap, but the damage has already been done. If one cartel network could operate 23 properties undetected, how many others are still out there? The search for additional properties is ongoing. Investigators believe the network may have extended into Nevada, New Mexico, and Colorado. But without the master database, tracking every location is a slow process. Some of the properties were sold before the raids. Some may have been abandoned, and some may still be active, waiting for new shipments of cash from street operations that haven't yet realized their storage infrastructure has been destroyed. Federal agents are now working with local law enforcement in over a dozen states to identify suspicious property transactions and conduct follow-up raids. The message to the cartel is clear. The silent net has been torn apart. But the human cost of this operation cannot be ignored. Every dollar in those safe houses came from addiction, from mothers who lost their sons to fentanyl overdoses, from families destroyed by methamphetamine, from communities ravaged by opioid addiction. That $1 billion in cash represents millions of individual transactions, each one a moment where someone chose poison over life because the cartels made it cheap, available, and lethal. The people who built this network, who reinforced those floors, who vacuum-sealed those bricks of cash, who sat in those houses watching the money, they were all complicit in a system that kills. And every single one of them will now face federal charges that carry decades in prison. Power doesn't always look like violence. Sometimes it looks like a quiet house with a well-maintained lawn. Sometimes it hides behind real estate investments and corporate paperwork. Sometimes it operates in neighborhoods where people feel safe, because that's exactly where no one is looking. This raid proves that the war against the cartels is not just fought at the border. It's fought in the suburbs. It's fought in the financial systems. It's fought in the silence that allows criminal networks to blend into normal life until someone finally shines a light on what's really happening behind those walls. Comment exposed if you believe every property tied to cartel money should be seized and sold to fund addiction treatment programs. Let people know this is not just about catching criminals. This is about taking back the communities they infiltrated. And remember, but the tactics, the infrastructure, and the scale are based on real cartel operations happening across the United States right now. Don't let them stay silent. This is Military Command. We will keep watching, we will keep exposing, and we will not let these networks rebuild in the shadows.